everybody. This is Father Warner and welcome to my kitchen once again. Today I am going to just show you how to make a very quick dish of chili chicken. Now, we're in lockdown and I'd like you to learn to cook with what you have. Don't always get bogged down when you see a recipe with the ingredients. Learn to improvise. Now, I just had some chicken. I had about 400 grams of chicken and I said, what shall we make? We're making chili chicken, which is really not Chinese. We call it Chinese food. It's really Southeast Asian food with our own influences. So cook with what you have. I don't have spring onions, which I would normally need for this dish. I'm just using regular onions, and I've got some capsicum, and these are from my garden outside. So I'm going to introduce you to the ingredients. I've got 400 grams of chicken, and I have marinated this with soya sauce, 2 teaspoons, 1 teaspoon of oyster sauce, about 8 drops of Tabasco sauce. I've added a teaspoon of ginger, garlic, and now I also have 1 onion because I don't have spring onions, which I've finely sliced. I've got 4 green chilies. I've got about 300 grams of capsicum, or about 3 large capsicums. I used also capsicums from my garden, so these are from my garden. And then I've got about a large teaspoon of ginger, 8 to 10 cloves of garlic chopped up, some oil, and then I've got 2 teaspoons of soya sauce, 2 teaspoons of oyster sauce, and about 1 teaspoon of coarsely ground pepper powder. And I'm going to go straight to the dish. I'm going to cook today in a cast iron pan. And the first thing you need to do is to allow your pan to really get nice and hot, because you want to really sear the meat. Now, cast iron pans are really heavy. So I'm going to allow the pan to heat up. It's already getting nice and warm. The easiest way to figure out whether your pan is warm is just place your hand over it, and you can actually feel the heat that is coming through. So if you wanted to make this in a gravy form, you could get yourself about 200 milliliters of chicken stock, or you could just drop a Maggi cube, into some water and add it towards the end. And the amount of corn flour that you use will actually determine the thickness of your gravy. I'm just going to do a dry version of it, just kind of a snacky version of chili chicken. So the pan's getting warm, and I'm going to add now the oil. Now remember that some dishes do call for oil, even though I'm usually conservative. So you need oil for chili chicken. Use any refined oil is good enough. But you need your oil to be nice and hot. So we're going to get that all nice and hot. And then I am first going to drop in the chilies, the ginger, and the garlic. Now, many people are very averse to using chilies, and they're frightened. In some of the other recipes, they say, Father, too many chilies. Now, here's what you do. If you don't want the spice of the chili, then, or the heat of the chili really, then you knock off the seeds. But hey, cooking chili chicken without chilies, you might as well change the name of the dish entirely. So I'm going to knock this into it first. And I'm one of those chefs who don't bother about, I just wash your hands and then you start doing your work and you're fine, yeah? So it's nicely crackling. Just add in the ginger and also throw in the garlic. Now, with all of this, what you really want to do, as I keep saying, is to just get the raw flavor. I just love the way the whole colors are white and brown and green. And then you stir it all in. So you want to get the raw flavors out of this dish. Now, a good thing about a cast iron pan is it just keeps on transmitting the heat, and that's really fantastic, okay? And here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to put in the meat and allow your pan to be hot. Keep the flame really high, because you don't want the chicken to really sweat. So there you go. Now I want to tell you a little bit about marination. So whenever you marinate your meat, sometimes we like to keep it for several hours. And what we do is we keep it in the refrigerator. There's no problem. But when you take it out of the refrigerator, leave it standing till it comes to room temperature. If you don't do this, then your meat really doesn't cook because it goes from cold to hot, and you really want your meat to come to a room temperature in order for it to be fried very well. The other thing is careful with proportions. If you put too much in a pan at one time, it's not going to fry. It's just going to poach in it, and you're going to get a lot of water. So I'm just letting one side of it brown, and then I will turn it over. Get myself a little air. Now, if this meat came off straight from the pan, from the refrigerator, that would have been an absolute disaster because it would have started to sweat. And at this stage, remember, chicken cooks very fast. At this stage, I'm going to put in some pepper. I'm going to add, going to let that fry a bit with the pepper. And pepper gives you such a lovely flavor. Yeah? Now remember, chicken cooks really fast, so you don't want to overcook it. Because when you start overcooking chicken, it gets very, very stringy. So in goes the soya sauce, and then I'm going to add the oyster sauce. Now, what does the oyster sauce really do? The oyster sauce brings in a lovely sweetness to the dish. So it balances the spice of the pepper and the chilies. And there you go. And really see, I'm giving it a little touch to know whether it's cooked or not, and it's almost done. And that's when I'm going to put in my onions, and also at this stage I'm going to add, I'll move all of this out. And once I put the capsicum in, I'm really done. Yeah? Now I'm using a large quantity of capsicum because I like to introduce a lot of veggies also into my food, or else you end up eating too much of non-vegetarian food. So if you have children at home and you want them to eat their vegetables along with the meat, this is a great way. Now remember, you don't want to overcook your capsicum and you don't want to overcook your meat. Now the only thing I didn't add was salt, and so I'm going to add a wee bit of salt. Remember that soya sauce has a lot of salt, and so you need to be very, very careful with salt when you make this dish. So add a little less, not too much, and you can always adjust salt. And I'm done. And so I'm just going to plate this. As you can see, I put a substantial amount of vegetables in this, and as you keep cooking, the vegetables simply get smaller in size, and our dish is done. So I'm just going to plate this now. And it's such a simple dish. It just takes hardly any of your time, and it's great with just about anything that you'd like to eat it with. There's no need of any garnish because the color of the capsicums just adds to the beauty of it. And if you like more soya sauce, if you like to see it a rich brown color, you can always add more soya sauce. Here you go, chili chicken.